guys know, this video is going to be a little less how-to and a little bit more just tips and tricks. I'll kind of glaze over what I'm doing, but in no way is it just going to be a tutorial for you to learn how to do it. But for now, I have a lot to do and only a couple days to do it. Okay, so I've had a little time to work on this and change my clothes. And here's what we started with. So this is the original disc caliper. The original pads are in there. The original disc brake. You know, everything, blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. Here's the original lines. So I've taken out all the suspension components, and I actually took the sway bar out and painted it and just got it back in there set for now. So this is what came out. So right here are the original sway bar bushings. As you can see, they're really chewed up. This one was actually ripped really bad. And these were the sway bar end links, and as you can see, they were over compressed and yeah, pretty junky. This is actually not what I want to show you. This is what I want to show you. These are all the new parts. So that's the new control, the new sway bar bushing. Much nicer, much stronger. This one's actually urethane. And then these are the end links. Again, urethane, much stronger. This was the original shock that came out of the passenger side. And, you know, everything's a little bit over compressed on that. That's what actually I was going to show you on the other side. That's what the new bushings should look like on the shocks. And this side, I've already got everything pretty well mocked up. So I cleaned up the brake disc, spins freely. I got the new caliper, new brake pads. I got the new line installed. New bushing installed temporarily while I'm getting the other side done. And the new end link put in. Again, just kind of sitting there. And then also the new shock is pretty much 100% installed. They just have to put the nut on the top of that. So far so good. Oh, that's the other thing I had done, was I did get the Smog Belt put in. I did rebalance, or I did get this put in better. I had to actually shave a little bit of the inside of the hub of that pulley off in order for it to stop wobbling. So that's all set. All the belts are back in place. I just have to put the fan and the shroud back in. And we're moving right along. So I'm gonna set you guys aside while I finish up bolting the suspension back together. Cool. Alright, so there's that. All mounted up. So when you tighten these, you just want to get these bushings to spread to about the width, or a little wider than the washer that's holding them on. These ones, you're not really going to tighten the bushing down too much. Those are more just a kind of like a spacer or a bearing almost, to allow the sway bar to go up and down and flex. So what's nice about these sway bars is, or excuse me, those bushings, is that they say you can use whatever grease you want. Sometimes urethane bushings you have to use a silicone grease, but these ones you can use any chassis grease you want, any, you know, dinosaur oil, you know, derivative. And this side's all set as well. Not bad. Bolted right up. Alright, next I'm going to show you guys installing the new shock. Alright, so again I showed you guys the old shock. As you can see, it started leaking. Not bad, but just enough to say time to replace it. Plus the ride was awful. I hope not only the shocks, but all the new bushings will definitely stiffen up that front end, and I think it will, judging by what we've seen come out of the car so far. So, new Monroe Sensatrack shocks. They still make these. I believe these are actually a leftover. I only paid $35–40 for these from Craigslist, and I'll take it. So when you get your shock, let's throw that right in there. Trash pile. So when you get it, you're going to get a baggie that has 2 2 bushings, 2 washers, and a top nut. What you want to do is put 1 washer on cup side up and 1 bushing on with the smaller diameter facing up. On the top, when you install the top ones, you want to put the smaller diameter facing down. This is the area that pinches the metal where it rides. But for now, we're going to leave the top bushing, top washer, and nut aside, and we're going to slide this right up in the car. So when installing this, another thing to keep in mind is the angle of the bottom bracket. You're going to want to match that to the angle of this plate here so that it's easier to install. I think in this case I want to install it like that. And also, I'll show you real quick, that's the hole you're aiming for. That little hole way up at the top. I don't know if you can see any sunlight through it, but we're going to go straight up in there. And actually you can see from up here when you get it right, because you should be able to see the, actually you might be able to see it there. You can see it poking through there. Okay, so I actually have the shock in backwards from how it fits, so that's going to be how it fits the best. So I'm just going to install my nuts and, or excuse me, install my bolts, and that's it. And just like that, we're good to go. So now the next step is to lower the car and install the top bushing on both shocks. Okay, now we're in kind of a tricky spot here. So the thing about these shock mounts, or shocks in general, is that the center will spin. So what you want to do is you want to line up your bushing, put that on so it rests there, put your new washer on, and then your new nut. As this threads, it will start to actually spin the center. So this is a, let me see if I can get you a little closer there. All right, a little more light. All right. So this is a 9/16. Try and get it as snug as I can. But maybe not. Maybe the center will not spin on this one. I noticed it when taking off the stock ones, that it actually spun, and I had to use a pair of vice grips on this little flat part right here to get the nut off. There we go. Alright, now as you can see, the bushing just started expanding a little bit past the washer. That's right where we want to be. Alright, so we'll go to the other side and we'll be done with the shocks. So, I've decided I want to finish up everything under the engine bay as far as I can. Get the belts tightened where they need to be, put the fan back on, put the shroud in. I'm sick of raising and lowering the car, and I figure get it all done at once. The car's already down. The only thing I have left to do under the car is the driver's side brake and the rear brake hose. And that's it. So let's tackle this fan. Now there's a trick behind this, installing the fan. For one, you have to leave the water pump belt loose. I actually took it right off and I'm just leaving it in line because this pulley is not bolted to the water pump by anything but the bolts that hold the fan on. This is a clutchless fan. Here it is. Just a 5-blade metal on plastic fan. So there's a spacer that goes in between where the clutch would normally be. Now these bolts go through the fan, this spacer, and then through the pulley into the actual water pump pulley. So there's a lot going on there. And everything has to line up. So if you leave the belt loose on the water pump, you're able to move that pulley a little bit to make sure that your holes line up with the bolt holes. The other thing is, when you go to install this, you can't just throw this on and the fan on, because then you can't get your shroud in. You actually have to put the shroud and the spacer in at the same time, and then your fan can slip in right after that. So let's get to that. Alright, so that's up there. Put this here. So what I've done, while this is kind of up and out of the way, is install the pulley extension, the fan extension. And what I did was I put one bolt in as a locator, and then I was able to tap this in so all the other holes now line up, and it's hub-centric on these little spacers that are built in. So now we can put the fan on. Alright, so unfortunately changing the wheel bearings didn't work out as far as getting it on camera. Both of my batteries died. So, as you can see, we got both wheels and tires back on. Everything under here is changed as it was. And this side we did put the new brake caliper and pads in. I also was able to get new tires, front and rear. So that kind of changes everything a little bit as far as the look. Let's see if we can get a better angle at this. So yeah, not bad, right? They're a little bit taller. I went with the 70 series tire this time. The last series I had were 60 series. So the fronts were much smaller, or lower, and the rears were almost like, you know, low profile tires. So it fills out the wheel wells a lot better. I like it a lot better. It also raises the car up about an inch, which is nice because it's really, really low. So the other thing I got accomplished while I had it at the garage was getting the gas tank undercoated. As you can see, it's nice and black now. A little more. It's nice and black. All rubberized, just like it would have been at the factory. And let's see, I think that's pretty much all we were able to accomplish when we were over there. So coming up, the next couple of things I'm going to do are to change that steering wheel, clean it out, and notice the timing light. I'm going to put a little timing into it and get the timing and the distributor all set up. I really have to work on the vacuum advance. It's advancing way too quick, and it's pinging at a low RPM. So anyway, that's it for this episode. I'll talk to you guys soon. Later.